Are you in the process of moving here to Canada, but yet you're facing this dilemma? Should you take your family along with you, or should you leave them behind? No, I know migration, relocation is a huge transition. And I know taking your family along with you can bring a sense of togetherness. Everybody experiencing it all, everybody settling down here, landing at the same time, and just enjoying going through the motions and the process together. While there are several other factors to consider, which might trigger that question in your head. Should I really take them, or should I leave them until, later on, later down, you go back for them? Hey, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to me here, my name is Yashika Turner. And thank you so much if you're stopping here for the first time. I would appreciate for you to hit this subscribe button. While you're at it, please hit the notification bell also, so you'll be notified of my next video. Now, in today's video, we're going to be talking about this dilemma that you might be facing right now in this moment. The dilemma of togetherness or apart. Now, I'm going to share with you 4 factors to consider, and later on at the end of the video, I'm going to share with you 3 scenarios that will help you to make this decision. Now, number 1, the first factor to consider is the age of your child and the adaptability. Now, for example, you have your child might be in high school, or your child might be in preschool. Now, different age group, right? And different adaptability. While the younger child might be able to easily adapt and adjust to this new culture, new values, new norms, and finding new friends, while your teenage child might find it a little bit more challenging, leaving their support, their circle, their friends behind, and coming here to a new country. That's one factor. The other factor is school age, right? Where are they along in school? Your teenager, your high school child might be just about finishing up high school, right? Maybe, so say now we're in December and they're in the last term of their high school. Now, you might be considering moving now, like in the next few months, but this is a factor to consider. Do you want to pull them out of school before they've completed high school or completed a significant milestone in school? Or do you want to wait a little bit? Or do you want to arrive before them and then they come after you? Right? So this is another factor. Again, when it comes on to age group, the age of the child. Is your child under 4? Where when you arrive in Canada, they're not able to start school as yet? Do you have support? Do you have daycare? If back home you already have that support system for your child under 4, then you might consider, okay, landing here in Canada, finding a job, finding childcare might be challenging initially. So then you might think about, okay, I'm going to leave my child and go back to get my child after settling down, right? So that's the first thing to consider. Write it down, think about it, the age and the adaptability of your child. Number 2 is your support system. Now, do you have support here in Canada? Do you have family? Do you have friends here in Canada? Now, having this form of support might help you transition better, right? So say you have family, friends that will host you here in Canada. They will help you. When you have no clue of what to do, when you have no clue of the first step to take, now these friends and these support system will help you throughout the process of adapting and adjusting. Now, we know, as I mentioned, that moving with family, say a family of 4 or a family of 2 in my previous video where I mentioned landing here to Canada, moving here as a single mom with my daughter. That's one of the most popular video trending. If you haven't seen it yet, if you're a single mom, I would advise for you to go check it out after watching this one where I shared my experience moving here. So that was an advantage for me moving here with my daughter, as she was my support, right? So if you don't have support here in Canada, it can be a lonely road to move here by yourself. Your family is back home and you're like feeling like a fish out of water, right? So the second thing to consider is the support system. If you have the support here, then it might be easier to leave them. If you don't have the support, then you might need the support of your family while adjusting and adapting. Factor number 3 is finances. How is your finances? Have you saved up enough money to land here in Canada with the amount of family members that you have, whether it's 2, 3, 4? Do you have that financial stability, right? Because when you move here to Canada, you'll have to consider finding a job, finding a place to rent, buying food, and as you know, cost of living is expensive everywhere. Canada is no different, right? So say, for example, your partner, so you're moving together as the female and your husband has a good job back home. Now, your husband might be able to keep on working, keep his job until you're able to settle here, paying, say, so you have a house back home, you have bills back home. So your husband might be able to say, okay, I'm going to stay. You go along. I'll keep working, sending money for you in Canada and paying the bills here in the home country. So those are some of the things you have to consider. Or you might say, you know what? We save up enough money. We have enough money to support the family members, your family members, whatever number that is, and we're going together. We're going to figure it out together. No, that's another factor to consider. So think about it. Am I making sense? Let me know in the comments by writing making sense. Let me know how this sound. Which one are you really considering right now? Taking them or leaving them? Let me know in the comments. And the last factor is factor number 4, and this is accommodation. Now, when you arrive here in Canada, there are several different ways of finding accommodation. You might be lucky enough to have someone host you in their home, having a friend, a family, or somebody here in Canada who will say, come along, stay with me for a few months until you set the foundation for yourself. Now, if this is the case, will your host have enough accommodation for all your family members? Now, this is depending again on the size of your family, right? So if your host says, you know what? Yes, I can host all of you, 3 of you, 4 of you, 5 of you. Then you might not have a problem coming here in Canada. Or you might say, you know what? I'm not so sure of what's happening there at my host's house, if we all will like it there, or what, like what to expect really when I land in Canada, living with somebody else in somebody else's space. Because as they say, see me and living with me is 2 different something. Jamaicans will say, see me and come live with me are 2 different something, right? So that means what you see on the outside of a friend or a family, going there and experience living with them is a total different story. And I've heard several different immigrants, bad story, good story, depending on the host, right? You might be the best of friends, and when you go and live with them under the same roof, then things get sour because everybody's personality is different. Everybody's way of doing things is different. Their values are different. So that might cause a problem. So then you might think about, okay, I'm landing first, feel it out, see if my family will be comfortable living with this host, then they come after, right? So these are the 4 factors to consider when you're moving here to Canada, if you're gonna move together or apart. I know it can be a challenging situation, a challenging dilemma, and a hard one to choose. Now, let's dive into the different scenarios, and I'm hoping that these scenarios will help you narrow down and answer your questions, help you to make a more informed decision, right? Let's get into it. But first, have you subscribed as yet? I would really appreciate if you hit that subscribe button. Join the family here where we talk about thriving after migrating here in Canada. I also have a Facebook group. If you need that support, because definitely support system is very important, I'll put it in the description below where you can be a part of our Facebook family. Now, let's get into scenario one. Now, these scenarios are really personal scenarios based on my experience and my friends around me here landing in Canada. So, number one, we'll say you're landing together as a family. Say you're a family of four. You have your house back home in your home country. You might choose to sell that house, sell your belongings, and accumulate enough money to land together, right? Or you might choose to rent out that property, have an income coming in to pay the mortgage and a little bit extra to finance, to help out with finances here when you land in Canada. But say, you got it down like that. You have your finances, enough money to land as a family of four. You have someone who will host you as a family of four. Then go ahead, move here, land here together, have that togetherness of support of everybody landing together, adjusting together, and progressing and thriving together. Now, again, this will actually affect your citizen, the time when you get your citizen. So landing together can be an advantage when it's time for citizenship, because you don't have to wait for the other spouse, because it's the exact, I think it's now 3 years wait period between landing and getting your citizenship, right? So if your spouse is or your spouse is out of the country for a period of 6 months, 8 months, or 1 year, whatever time frame it is, then both of you time for applying for citizenship might be different. So is either you're going to go ahead and complete your citizenship, or you're going to wait for your spouse timing and you do it together. So these are the pros and the cons. The pros: when you're landing together as a family, experience your first winter, experience your first Christmas together, and going out, getting your first apartment, shopping together. So these are the pros of landing together. Are you feeling the togetherness? Let me know in the comments right now. Scenario number two might be you're a family of three, right? You have a spouse and you have a child, right? You might choose to land with your child, leaving your spouse behind because he's already in a stable job, which will help out with the finances, right? So you have a friend that will host you, or you have a family that will host you, right? So you're going to say, okay, honey, I'm leaving you behind, sort out the bills, and we're going to go first to feel out to see what it is like living in Canada. If the host can host you, or I feel that you'll be comfortable living with this host, then you'll come after to join us. So that's scenario number two, right? Suppose the mother, you as a mother, land with the child starts school, while you as a wife try to find a job, try to find an apartment, while the spouse will come after. Or the spouse can come either the next month rather than waiting 6 months' time. So this scenario is for you to come to test it out. Act as a little tester to see how comfortable the living situation is. Then they can join you after. Now, say they join you, within weeks or a month. Now, the waiting time for a citizenship won't be that long, won't be of that significant difference. So that's number two. Coming first, and then your spouse will join you after. Now, scenario number three, and this was my personal experience as I spoke about this in my previous videos. I can't remember which one, but I'll link it right here when I land here in Canada as a single mom. So this scenario was, I was a family of two, my daughter and myself. We both landed here in Canada. But when things started to get a little bit on the rocky side, because my daughter was under 4, under the age of starting school, I wasn't able to sustain childcare financially. I wasn't able to pay childcare whilst trying to set the foundation for her, getting an apartment, getting a job, and all the little pieces of the puzzle that will set the foundation. So we landed here together, and I think it was after we landed in April, and the November when I started working, I had to send her back home. So this is this scenario of landing together, then one of the family members or most of the family members go back home. So if you have kids in high school, so say you come throughout the summertime, land in the summer, you send them back to finish up school, that 1 year of school, if you choose. You land here, everybody together, your husband will go back home to continue working if he chooses. You land here with small kids, you realize that you don't have the support, but you have a mom, an aunt, or some more stable support back home where daycare, childcare won't be that expensive, then you send them back home. Now, of course, there are pros and cons in whichever one you choose. There are pros and cons. And as I said, it is a tough decision. So whichever one you choose right now, but let me help you a little bit more. Pros, landing together in a new country can be challenging. So that support, that bond together can help ease the mental struggles of being apart from your family while you're navigating through a new country. So that is the pros. There goes it. The ultimate decision is in your hands. Leaving your family is a tough decision, but yet moving your family and have the lack of support or lack of finances might be just as challenging. This is not a one size fits all situation. Everybody's situation is unique. So you have to take thoughtful consideration into these factors and into these scenarios to see which one suits your needs the best. As I said, everybody is different, and I hope this video was truly helpful in solving this huge dilemma for you. Go ahead, watch my next video here, and thank you so much. I appreciate you. I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now.